Hi team, Coach Alexia here. I wanted to talk today about heart rate and I think as runners we can be, as I've mentioned in one of my recent videos, we can be a little bit disappearing down the rabbit hole into the numbers, get a little too focused sometimes perhaps on the numbers and the stats around our performance. And I think kind of heart rate can be one of those numbers that we kind of get a little bit hooked into. So I wanted to give you a little bit of context around those heart rate readings that we get for our runs. They are super useful as a starting point, I would say. Yeah, I particularly like getting people to take an occasional look at their resting heart rate first thing in the morning before they get out of bed. A dropping resting heart rate is a fantastic sign of improving cardiovascular fitness and adaptation to training. And heart rate is a great feedback mechanism for the effort level that you're putting into a run, to make sure that we're not running our easy stuff too fast and we're putting the right level of effort into our speed work. However, our heart and our lungs and our entire cardiovascular system does not solely exist to power us when we're doing exercise. The lungs are bringing in oxygen, taking out carbon dioxide, and the heart is pumping that oxygen around, the carbon dioxide back out, and the nutrients around our body to every single system in our bodies. It's not just for the muscles. So it is sending that oxygen and nutrients to our brain, our eyeballs, our digestive system, our other internal organs, our reproductive system. It's healing areas that are healing from injury or recovering from illness. The heart and the lungs are providing that oxygen and nutrients and removing then the byproducts of what the body does with that oxygen and nutrients for all the body's systems and tissues 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this brings me on to the fact that there are other things other than just the sport activity running that you do that impact our heart rate. So a few little examples of stuff that I've spotted over the last few months, this year sort of overall, that have impacted people's heart rate, both resting and when training. Early stages of pregnancy, recovering from surgery, having a really rubbish time at work, lack of sleep, dodgy curry the night before, about to come down with an illness, both tummy bugs, COVID, flu, the temperature, the heat, the humidity, how much you've eaten and drunk. If you've been out for a big night out, on the beers the night before and are a bit dehydrated the following morning, didn't have time to get a decent breakfast in before your long run. So there are, I guess, kind of big all body side of things, like when we're trying to fight off an illness in the background or doing some recovery or trying to grow a baby. Our body's going to be using a lot of the energy and the oxygen that cardiovascular system is trying to bring in order to do that stuff, right? And then you're asking it to do the running on top of that, which can be fine, but bearing in mind the fact that that's going to have an impact on your heart rate. It's going to up the heart rate over and above what it would normally be. Stress, anxiety, mental health issues, when we're spending more of our time in that fight or flight mechanism, got the cortisol, got the adrenaline around our systems more than would be our usual baseline, that's going to up our heart rate. So I guess what I'm saying is heart rate can be a useful data point, but it is just that, it's a data point, and what we read into that data point and making sure that we take into that context of all the stuff that the heart and the lungs are doing. It's not just a number that reflects our running performance, it is a number that reflects the performance of our entire body, and we might not always know, to be quite honest, what our entire body is up to. We can sometimes, we would probably know if it's a really hot or humid day, potentially notice when we're a bit dehydrated, underfueled. Will we notice that our body's fighting off something in the background? Will we recognise the fact that because we've had a really rubbish day at work, our body and our brain is going to be quite in a bit of a different place to usual? Perhaps not. So This is circling back to one of the reasons why I love a training diary, is because when you write down a little bit more about how that run went, maybe what the weather was like, maybe, you know, felt tired because I had a really bad day at work or whatever it might be, you start to build a picture of some of this other context, other stuff that your body might be up to that will be potentially impacting your running. And I think that's useful for your running and, to be honest with you, useful for you just as a human. Humans are complicated and we are far, far more than just the stats that our watch collects. Happy running.